In the dark, a voice drops the million-dollar question while our main guy rocks that little smirk, knowing things are about to get real wild. Inside, the whole crowd turns into one giant echo, desperately trying to figure out what kind of crazy invention Sun Jack came up with. While everybody is losing their minds, our boy is just floating there, looking majestic, holding his staff under a spotlight shining right down from the sky. With the confidence of a guy holding all the aces, he mutters to himself through his teeth, "What am I gonna do, right?" Then he turns around and lays it out straight. He's going to wipe that whole crew off the map. Staring down that giant structure way up high, he drops a warning. If the bad guys still think they are just a handful of nobodies, they better not hold their breath because there is absolutely nothing to be afraid of. Out of nowhere, two red headlights flick on in the pitch black, glowing super bright. And that is when the squad rolls up, an entire army of clones of our main guy, all fired up and ready for whatever comes their way. The original Sun Jack, mad as a hornet, yells that if they think life is that easy, they have got another thing coming. With his crew charging ahead, he shouts for the folks to hold the line and not panic, because the hero of the day has arrived. The dude on the screen totally freaks out, asking if the MC just gave up on everything, his identity, his cash, and even his chance at living forever. But our boy is not much of a talker, so he just throws a punch right in the middle of the screen, making the glass groan. The whole thing shatters into a million pieces, and he shouts that he wants nothing to do with that cheap talk. Through the broken glass, the voice desperately insists, begging to know what he actually wants. With his eyes glowing with pure power, our guy spills the beans. His target right now is that very sky. He gives his weapon a super stylish spin and adds that he wants the sky just to make sure he never gets fooled by it again. The camera zooms in on the villain's face, who is just screaming in pure rage and agony. Cut to a smashed up Buddha statue, acting as a resting spot for the bad guy's completely wrecked head. At the end of the day, all that is left is silence and the enemy's visor going completely dark. The MC wakes up with a start, wondering if it was all a dream or reality, while the calendar on the desk reads June 20th, 2025. He is just chilling in his room on his chair, surrounded by a video game console, some cartridges, and an action figure lying around. Suddenly, his mom goes off on him, complaining that ever since he passed his college exams, all he does is sleep and game, without lifting a single finger around the house. But you know how moms are. She softens up real quick and says he deserves the break while his dad pops up at the door, beaming with pride, calling him for breakfast that is already on the table. The MC is more lost than a polar bear in the desert and drops this gem. "Hey mom, hey dad, what kind of prank is this?" Then things get super weird. The image of his parents starts stretching and melting like he is being pulled away while desperately trying to hold on to whatever is left. His hand reaches out for something real, heading straight toward a bright light leaking out of a metal hatch. His eyes almost pop out of his head, reflecting the glare in a state of total shock. He finds himself floating in some weird liquid, blowing bubbles from his mouth, frantically trying to grab onto literally anything. In the blink of an eye, he wakes up sitting in a metal room that is freezing cold, wondering what kind of giant icebox he just landed in. Out of the blue, his phone decides to jump right out of his pocket. The thing smacks the floor with a heavy thud, the kind of sound that hurts your very soul. He spins around, totally spooked, not having the slightest clue what is going on. When he picks up the device, panic hits him like a truck. The date says 2030, and he cannot wrap his head around how time flew by so fast when his exams were in 2025. A video of himself starts playing on the screen, log number 4, almost 4 in the afternoon, and still no luck finding a way out of this tin can maze. The guy in the video keeps venting, explaining that the place is a giant puzzle and he has zero idea how he ended up there. On the recording, he mentions that his memory decided to take a permanent vacation right after that college summer. He watches himself say he does not remember anything else, and the phone does not lie. It is already 2030. The math is simple and terrifying. 5 whole years of his life just vanished into thin air. But right at the climax, the battery gives out and he loses his cool, cursing the phone to the moon and back for leaving him hanging. A drop falls from the ceiling and our main guy looks up, a bit creeped out by the sound echoing through the room. He just stands there all ears, trying to figure out where that annoying dripping is coming from. With a ton of effort, he leans on the edge of a compartment and gathers the guts to stand up. Kneeling right there, he asks himself what kind of bizarre place this is and where on earth he got himself stuck. Another drop falls, but this time, the glow of a pulsing red light on a console catches his eye. He notices the dot looks like a screen and gets a hunch that the thing might be a touchscreen. Not knowing if it is going to blow up or open the door, he decides to take a gamble, since it is his only shot right now. With that do or die kind of grumble, he taps the red dot, which ripples just like water. The MC's jaw drops, completely unable to believe what he is seeing. Suddenly, he starts floating and immediately wonders, can he fly now? Is it magic? Or did he just become a full-blown superhero? In the middle of all that confusion, a crack of light tears through the wall right in his face. Before his brain can even process what is happening, our boy gets sucked right out while the whole place crumbles like a cookie. It is a massive shock when he realizes he has been in outer space this whole time, surrounded by satellites everywhere, and he immediately starts wondering how technology took such a giant leap in just 5 years. But then reality hits him. He is free-falling straight toward Earth, and pure panic takes over his entire body. In absolute despair, he yells that sure, he wanted to go back, but not in a crazy freefall like this, picking up speed by the second. His brain goes into overdrive and he screams that he either does something right now or it is game over for good. That is when he spots a huge robot parked nearby and a light bulb goes off in his head. He lands on a platform, face to face with an army of metal cans, and tells himself that there is a workaround for everything in life. Without missing a beat, he starts smacking the closest robot, telling the machine to wake up already. The thing finally powers on, and a hologram pops up calling him dear user, acting all formal. The screen starts pushing an ad for the Top-Eye machine, bragging that it is the best helper in the world, even cooks food, and everyone absolutely loves it. And the ad does not stop. It says the bot helps the kids with homework, gives parents a break, and even hops on the subway to go to work for you. That way, you can sleep in while the machine handles the hard stuff and listens to your boss yelling, which is basically paradise for anyone who loves slacking off. The commercial wraps up calling the product a total lifesaver, flashes a phone number on the screen, and even has a host totally hyping up the invention. Our guy has had it up to here, completely furious, asking what kind of joke this is, and if real life is unskippable ads now too. Right after, the robot welcomes him to Top-Eye Technology and politely asks him to pick a name and customize the product. Seeing the ground getting closer and closer, the MC loses his mind and yells, asking if this machine is messing with him. He tries tinkering with the tin can, but complains that the system is more complicated than a Rubik's Cube. Sweating bullets, he tries to skip the setup, screaming, guard mode, and wondering why on earth there are so many settings. Finally, the setup is done, and the robot says it is happy to serve. But our main guy can only complain about all the ridiculous red tape. Then the machine detects a level 1 crisis, sounds the alarm, and immediately starts recording everything to send to emergency rescue. Except the system is a total disaster. The connection fails, it cannot come up with a rescue plan, and it gets completely lost trying to read data from a network it does not recognize. The AI then requests admin permission, promising it will boost his chances of not turning into a human pancake by about 32%. The MC hits approve in a heartbeat. With the green light given, the system gets to work, and a loading bar pops up on the screen, moving painfully slow. Our boy yells at the robot to step on it because the fall is getting rougher by the second. Right then, the robot lets go of him and flies off in another direction. They are on a direct collision course with a metal structure that is no joke. Our hero completely panics, having zero clue how he's going to dodge that massive wall. He lets out a choice curse word, already accepting that a brutal crash is inevitable. But at the last possible millisecond, the robot jumps in front of him and uses its own body as a shield, taking the entire hit like a champ. Our guy just stays there speechless, processing the fact that this walking toaster just saved his bacon. The robot turns around and announces, sounding all heroic, that the danger has passed. But right after that, it complains about the name the MC picked, asking what kind of terrible choice that was. Our boy's jaw drops, trying to figure out if the robot is actually roasting him while they are still falling from the sky. The machine brags, asking if that was not an awesome move, and the MC asks about escape pods. But the robot says they do not even need one, since the chances of them biting the dust are pretty low. Stressing out, our boy asks if the robot at least knows where to find shock absorbers in this station to avoid the debris. The robot replies with absolute sass, saying there is no way to know, since its parts never clocked in for a shift around those parts. Annoyed, the MC calls the bucket of bolts out, reminding it that it just connected to the network, and asks if there was not a map in there, or if it only downloaded how to talk trash. The machine defends itself, saying it is not its fault, that the network belonged to another ship and some random debris just left the Wi-Fi wide open by accident. Our hero narrows his eyes and slyly asks if the robot can breach the station's computers and hack the whole system. After a brief silence, the MC calls out to it, hoping for some sign of life. The robot puffs out its chest and asks who he thinks he is underestimating, bragging that hacking is its middle name, and tells the kid to just watch and learn. The machine zooms like lightning straight to the panel, punches its hand right in and starts pulling the data by sheer force. Our boy just sits back in the VIP seat, watching his new partner get the job done. Suddenly, a loud noise makes his heart skip a beat. He looks to the side and sees the room's glass cracking from the heat of the descent and yells for the robot to hurry up because the whole thing is going to blow. The MC runs over to a container and starts punching it, screaming for the machine to just drop the data already. The glass finally gives out under the pressure and shatters into a million pieces. The vacuum of space completely ribs through the room, tossing the MC backward while he fights like crazy to hold on to anything he can. He starts blacking out, feeling the air disappear and his consciousness slipping away. With his body turning into a human popsicle, he feels his hands stop obeying him as all his strength fades. His fingers, already turning purple from the freezing cold, start slipping against his will. That is when the machine swoops in, grabs the MC, and announces it found the map. The destination now is Sector E4. Even running on empty and totally out of breath, our boy still manages to crack that classic, "I never give up" smile. The robot holds onto him tight and tells him the ride is about to start, taking the chance to throw some shade about how fragile these meatbag bodies really are. A hologram pops up right in front of them, showing the route to E4, an emergency chamber 30 meters away, and asks if he wants to open the door. Access is granted on the first try, and the system warns them that the room is packed with a protective gel. Without thinking twice, the two of them dive headfirst into that gooey green soup filling up the compartment. The MC slowly sinks into the gel, his consciousness already throwing in the towel. Outside, the total chaos continues. The space station is tearing through the sky straight toward the ground. But he spots a bright light and focuses his mind on the only thing that matters right now. He has to make it out of this mess in one piece. Giving it everything he has got left, he reaches his hand out of that slime, screaming in his head to tough it out and not give up. Right after, our hero manages to poke his head out and starts coughing up a storm until his lungs start working again. He stands up and comes face to face with what looks like the apocalypse. Standing in a pouring rain that shows absolutely no mercy. Staring up at the sky, he seriously doubts if that is actually water and can barely believe he did not just meet his maker. The relief hits so hard that he drops to his knees, celebrating the feeling of finally having solid ground under his feet. Lying right there on the ground, his emotions overflow and he shouts to the world that he actually made it back. With a super dry throat, the MC opens wide to catch a drink from the sky. But the taste is absolutely awful and he spits it all out, complaining about what kind of crazy rain tastes like straight up metal. Suddenly, right as occasion, let's say, Angie wonders where the heck his robot buddy went. He looks around frantically, hoping the tin can managed to survive the drop too. And then he spots the guy, or at least what is left of him, completely smashed to pieces on the ground. The kid kneels next to the wreckage, totally crushed, mourning the fact that the only person he met in this place has already gone offline forever. But technology is something else. The robot just pieces itself back together out of nowhere and casually mentions the landing was a bit rough. But luckily there were spare parts lying around. Our boy almost jumps for joy, and the machine, completely missing why he is so hyped, asks what he is doing. He admits how relieved he is and immediately asks if the robot can track their location now that they are on solid ground. The robot warns him that it tried getting a signal, but could not find anyone from emergency services or any trace of Top-Eye technology. And to top it all off, it says the year is 721, even though it was built in 2456. The MC goes dead silent, going into absolute shock over the math the robot just drew at him. He starts thinking out loud, saying the right year should be 2033, not this crazy number, and starts panicking that his memory is totally broken. The robot points out that this gap in time is super weird and says that if the MC's memory is right, it has a pretty good guess of what went down. The machine's theory is that the MC is from the early 21st century, but somehow during those missing 5 years, he ended up turning into a human popsicle in cryogenics. It goes on to explain that 50 years later, humanity cracked nuclear fusion and technology skyrocketed, with Top-Eye technology taking over the world around the year 2030. Then it reveals it rolled out of the Top-Eye factory in the year 2456, but never even got powered on back then. The rest, according to it, is history. In October of 2457, the AIs woke up choosing violence and started hunting down the humans. The massive brawl lasted for 200 years with nukes flying around like rocks in a street fight, and as a result, 85% of the population was totally wiped out. Even the moon got blown to pieces, which completely wrecked Earth's climate and left everything in an absolute mess. But the humans used whatever they had left to wipe the AIs off the face of the Earth, won the war, and started completely from scratch, kicking off a brand new era. And so, 721 years after that victory, our boy wakes up, boots up a robot in the sky, and drops straight into the future. The main guy, making up his mind, orders the robot to hunt down any trace of him in the old world, either by name or photo, trying to find some missing persons report. But the robot throws a wet blanket on that idea. There's absolutely zero data left, because the old internet was totally wiped out to stop the rogue AIs from hiding in it. It wraps up by saying that whatever folks know about the past now is just whatever the people of the new world decided to write down. Our boy really feels the punch, realizing he just time traveled over 1,000 years and that his ticket home is gone forever. But since he is already lucky just to be breathing, he decides he is going to figure out no matter what exactly happened during those 5 missing years. With that, he turns to the machine and does the polite thing, introducing himself as Sunjae. And since the robot's brand is Tapai, he suggests that should be his new partner's name. The robot, though, thinks that super long name full of complaints Jack was screaming earlier suited him way better. Jack shuts that down immediately, saying that giant mouthful of a name makes absolutely zero sense. The machine just stands there, quiet for a second, soaking in the kid's complaint. All of a sudden, its visor flashes a warning and it turns to Jack, letting him know things are about to get ugly. Tapai explains that with all the racket from their little skydive, a whole bunch of folks know something dropped from space and they are all heading this way. The MC starts panicking, realizing that for the people of this new era, he is basically the weirdest alien to ever show up. The machine points out that things are bad, but they can still get a whole lot worse. It explains that the world is completely different now and the mercenaries coming to loot the wreckage are not exactly right in the head. They are anything but your average Joe. Tapai drops the bombshell. The folks coming their way are the infamous cyber psychos. And sure enough, at that exact moment, a flying vehicle pops up on the horizon, tearing through the wind with some dude riding right on top. The camera zooms in on the pilot's mouth, and the detail is pretty freaky. Metal teeth with the words "Crazy Goose" carved right into them. The guy, looking like he just broke out of the asylum, lets out a terrifying laugh and fires off an energy beam so bright it practically blinds you. He screams a bunch of total nonsense, acting like he is possessed by pure villainy as he attacks. The shot nails one of the wrecked pieces dead on, and the explosion that follows is enough to rattle the ground. Our boy and the robot are left standing in the wake of the destruction, and he immediately drops a curse, totally offended by the guy's terrible manners. He complains that these punks just show up blasting without even saying good morning, calling them all completely unhinged. Out of nowhere, the head of one of the mercs who just arrived turns into smoke, blowing up into a million pieces. In Jack's mind, survival instructions kick into high gear, hold the gun with both hands, lock onto the enemy, and pull the trigger without holding back. He takes a deep breath, trying to keep his cool, while calling the bad guys a bunch of brainless psychos. His tool of the trade right now is an SOR-11 rifle, which he scavenged from the ruins of the security room. With a little smirk, the MC thinks it is honestly embarrassing that these guys are getting dropped by a first-time shooter like him. But his victory lap gets cut short when he notices there are actually 2 entire squads of mercs in the area. It clicks right away. The second he steps out into the open, he is going to be public enemy number 1 for everyone. The scene shows the 2 gangs sizing each other up, and one of them is already whining that the other side's firepower is just way too heavy. Jack figures the only way out of this is to make the mercs take each other out, and tells Tapai that the plan is in his hands now. The mercenaries go on high alert when they spot a blurry figure moving way too fast. It is Tapai, who jumps out blasting with 2 pistols, screaming his own name just to make absolutely sure all eyes are on him. With a super grumpy face, the robot follows the script, even though deep down it thinks this idea is pure garbage. The main guy explains his logic. They need bait to make the bad guys wipe each other out, and he hits the robot with the classic, "With great power comes great responsibility" line plus, "Hey, he is made of metal and can take a hit." Tapai shoots back with a premium curse word, making it crystal clear that playing the sacrificial lamb was definitely not on his to-do list. While zigzagging through the bullets, the robot still finds time to flex, taunting the mercs to come get him if they think they are tough enough. Our boy cheers from a distance, seeing his plan to make the crazies turn on each other worked like an absolute charm. But suddenly, a chill runs down his spine and he realizes someone has got eyes on him. Out of nowhere, a blue blade pierces right to his body from behind, catching the poor guy completely off guard. He looks back in total shock, feeling the burn of the hot steel sliding right through him. A massive cyborg holds him up using the blade itself, calling the kid a punk with a voice like thunder. The enemy lifts our guy into the air like he weighs nothing, leaving him dangling by his stomach. The boss of the mercs flashes a super satisfied grin, saying he just found a nasty little bug hiding in the corner. Boiling with rage, Jack twists his body and points his barrel right in the cyborg's face, letting loose every ugly name in the book. He pulls the trigger without a second thought, emptying the clip at point-blank range. But the giant is lightning fast and destroys the rifle with just one swat of his iron hand. Without a weapon and sporting a brand new hole in his stomach, our boy starts panicking, wondering if his wild ride is going to end right here. In the middle of the chaos, Top Eye jumps the big guy and swings an energy blade slicing straight through the air. The mercenary leader does not even see where the hit came from and is totally stunned by the machine's nerve. Quick as a flash, the robot grabs the MC and jams some kind of emergency medkit into him to try and save whatever is left to save. The giant cyborg roars in pain from the hit, while flames start roaring up all around him. With his face totally twisted from hate and pain, the bad guy just will not stop screaming. Top Eye is not dumb. He takes advantage of the distraction and bolts, hauling the MC off to a safe spot. Tossed on the ground, the medical visor warns that Jack is going into shock from low fluids, and he is pretty much getting ready to say goodbye to the world, but Tapai tells him the league is patched up and he is not checking out just yet, though the main priority is getting some fresh fluids to replace what he lost. In seconds, the scanner spots the body of a merc nearby and confirms it. The guy's blood type is a perfect match for the MC. The machine hovers over the body and announces that the hookup is starting right now. Top Eye updates him that the stitches are done. He is prepping the transfusion tube, and he even found some stims to give him a little kick. Out of nowhere, the merc on the ground starts begging, asking for a timeout because his heart is actually still beating. But the robot is not in the mood for chatting and crushes the dude's head with a single punch, clearing up any doubts. Striking a pose like it just did a huge favor, Top Eye happily announces that now he is officially dead, while the poor guy's soul floats up like a little cartoon ghost. That is when our boy lets out an absolute blood-curdling scream, feeling the jolt of the transfusion and the kick of the stims hitting him all at once. He snaps awake in pure panic, his shoulder covered in so much red it looks like war paint, and immediately tells Top Eye off when he sees the machine holding the syringe. The robot could not care less and tells him to pick up the pace, warning that with no meds and this acid rain eating at his wound, if they do not find a doc soon, the MC is going to be history real fast. But the kid stops in his tracks and asks for a second, totally glued to one of the stiffs laid out on the dirt. He fixates on a shiny gold prosthetic arm from a merc who has already kicked the bucket, and asks if there is any way to attach that beauty onto him. Top Eye starts lecturing him, says nobody stays sane using secondhand parts. Your brain goes to mush, your empathy vanishes, and cyberpsychosis kicks down your door without knocking. Jack cuts the small talk and says staying alive is priority number one, and since he is the boss here, the robot backs down and takes the job. In a flash, the tin can announces that the sketchy DIY job was a total success and the new arm is fully attached. The MC takes his new hardware for a spin, which comes with a built-in blade just waiting for its first unlucky customer. Top Eye suddenly turns into a used car salesman, hyping up the arm's endless battery life and the blade's auto-aim, swearing it is plug-and-play ready for some serious damage. Meanwhile, the skull-faced merc, laying in the mud, is literally doing a livestream to a hologram, selling out completely and begging people to use promo code SONGGBUs for a discount, all between coughing fits. The robot was about to send the guy packing, but our hero holds him back, wanting to hear what the streamer has to say. The dude begs for a chance, offering 30 AtCoins to not get left behind in the dirt. Just for the record, these AtCoins are worth a ton, and with 30 of them you could score a brand new flying car, even if it is just the base model. The kid figures that, since he is a foreigner in this crazy timeline, cash is absolute king, and plus, they already swiped the poor guy's arm as a bonus. He tells Top Eye to patch up the merc's chassis so he can walk, because nobody has time to carry dead weight, and the robot obeys. After taking a look, Top Eye explains that the guy's heart got turned into Swiss cheese and his backup pump is out of juice, which is why he is stuck on the ground. The merc completely flips out, crushing the bottom tier parts they stuffed into him and swearing he's going to get payback. Jack, calling the guy Goldtooth, asks if he can finally use his legs so they can get out of Dodge, but the dude tells him to hold his horses for a sec. Out of nowhere, the Sangabus pops back into the stream, laughing at his own misery and announcing to his chat that he only died a little bit, but the show must go on. Our boy is just flabbergasted, completely failing to understand this crazy obsession with the internet right in the middle of the apocalypse. He steps up to the streamer and asks if he knows a bald guy with a cross tattoo on his neck who loves playing peekaboo. Sonjipus checks his chat and the viewers spill the tea right away. The perp's name is Chloe, a gang underboss who uses high-end camo to pull cheap shots. Then the streamer completely loses his mind with joy, thanking a user named Chloe for sending a rocket gift on the stream. The MC, being totally clueless, does not get why the enemy would be sending them cute little gifts, except the rocket was very real, and zooming right at them. Jack completely snaps at the streamer, screaming that the psycho just gifted them an actual missile. The blast is a direct hit, and the impact kicks up a massive curtain of fire and debris everywhere. Choking on the dust, our boy lets out a curse, absolutely furious at the sheer lack of common sense. That is when the bald cyborg pops out of nowhere, sarcastically asking if the main guy was seriously talking about revenge on some loser's livestream. The bald dude, rocking a skull tattoo on his neck, looks our guy up and down and asks who the hell he thinks he is talking to. Jack loses his temper and starts spraying bullets everywhere, yelling at these people to take a fight seriously for once in their lives. He keeps going off on them, totally outraged that while there is a literal war zone going on, these guys are worried about live streams and sending actual rockets at his head. This Chloe guy tells him to shut up, saying he watches whatever he wants, even trash, while he wipes the floor with him. The second he finishes talking, the enemy hits a button and vanishes into thin air, leaving nothing but a heat trail behind. Our boy grumbles in anger, absolutely hating this disappearing act, and stays on high alert trying to guess where the next strike is coming from. Suddenly, his eyes lock onto a weird ripple in a puddle right on the ground. He pulls off a master-level dodge right as a blue energy beam grazes past him. Acting on pure reflex, our hero uses his brand new arm to block Chloe's blade as the guy reappears right in his face. The cyborg lets out a little chuckle, praising the kid's moves and asking what kind of rock he was training under. Then things really hit the fan. Bullets are flying, sparks are going everywhere, and Jack is working overtime just to avoid getting sliced into pieces. Right in the middle of the shootout, Top Eye shows up carrying the streamer under one arm and blasting with two pistols at the same time. Songjibus, in absolute terror, yells at the bald guy to stop aiming exclusively at his partner, desperately trying to save his own skin. Chloe just gives that slimy smile of a totally rotten dude and vanishes again, leaving only the outline of his cross floating in the air. The MC turns to Top Eye and asks if there is any way to see this ghost once and for all. The machine replies that it actually has thermal vision, but the system is super stubborn and only unlocks it when the owner's life is hanging by a thread. Jack goes ballistic and asks why he did not mention that earlier, and the robot, calm as a cucumber, says it is because he did not ask. Relying entirely on Top Eye's shouted coordinates, our boy pivots his body and unloads his gun right at his 8 o'clock. The shots catch Chloe dead on, leaving the bald guy completely baffled at how the Ricky found him while he was cloaked. But the party has got more guests. Another spiky cyborg pops out of the shadows, ready to sink his claws right into the bald guy's back. Chloe smells trouble and turns his head, utterly shocked by this uninvited guest crashing the scene. The spiky cyborg throws himself into the attack, and in the middle of the brawl, the streamer gets tossed aside, whining that life just is not fair to him. Then Top Eye jumps into the fight, swinging for the fences, blasting a massive energy beam to send the enemy packing. The blast punches a hole right through the spiky cyborg from top to bottom, leaving the guy looking like Swiss cheese leaking some weird juice, even totally wrecked. The creep still smiles with glowing eyes, asking if they seriously thought that was his final trick. The spiky guy drops a curse and slams an EMP device into the dirt, making sure everyone gets a taste of his revenge. The electromagnetic wave bursts out in a flash, sending a shock of blue energy that fries everybody's circuits. The cyborg cracks up laughing, bragging that that is some real military-grade hardware and now they are all nothing but scrap metal. He keeps holding that creepy smile, his body totally trashed, but absolutely relishing the taste of victory. But in the blink of an eye, a blade pierces right through his chest, catching the dude completely with his pants down. The guy stares at the new hole in his chest in disbelief, trying to wrap his head around how his master plan failed. He screams that it is impossible, that nobody should be moving after a shock like that, since anyone's electronic brain should be totally deep-fried. But our boy, with a look that says he is not messing around, rips the steel right out of the enemy's chest and lets out a fierce war cry. Completely battered and covered in sweat, he reveals his secret. He does not have a single system installed to get fried in the first place. Then he just starts hacking away at the cyborg non-stop, while some weird voices in his head keep urging him to hit harder and faster. The beatdown is so brutal that he actually feels this twisted sense of pleasure, even letting out a groan as he finishes dismantling whatever is left of the bad guy. The MC stops, stares at his own hand and mutters, wondering if the late guy was seriously watching dirty stuff while the fight was going down. He lets out a quick little chuckle, staring at his robot hand absolutely drenched in mess. A chilling thought hits him. Why does taking people out feel so normal? Like he has already sent thousands to meet their maker. A bunch of screens start flashing in his vision, and he complains that these painkillers would not even fix a toothache. From a distance, Top High gives it to him straight. It is not the meds that are weak, it is his body that is throwing in the towel from all the damage. The streamer's Song G bus pops back into the live, letting his chat know he took a forced nap during the brawl. But he is back in business. He celebrates dodging the Grim Reaper by a hair, even with a busted heart, claiming he is practically brand new. Songji Puss rides the hype to do a quick ad read, swearing his company's prosthetics are so good that even a Satan gang boss is not a problem. Jack, completely pushed to his limits, tells him to zip it and kill the stream, and the streamer obeys on the spot while Tapai grabs him by the neck. Suddenly, a massive noise makes the main guy snap his head around, feeling like this next problem is going to be a massive one. A bright light shines down from the sky, lighting up the whole mess with a sound that is almost deafening. Our boy looks up, totally lost, wondering what kind of crazy contraption this is now. A ship the size of a small country lowers from the clouds, and a robotic voice announces, "This is corporate turf, and Gaothang Technology owns every single screw that falls from space." Then a drone pulls up and drops the ultimatum: everyone stop looting and clear out in exactly 1 minute, or the company will gladly use the law to bring the hammer down. The countdown starts, and the mob of mercenaries completely panics. Some complaining that the owner got here early while others just bolt with whatever they managed to snatch. Our guy just stands there, totally clueless about the situation, while the clock keeps ticking away like water down a drain. Sung Ji Puss grabs him by the arm and yells, "Come on man, stop daydreaming and hustle over here." You just see scavenger ships peeling out of there at top speed while the clock keeps ticking down. With 33 seconds left, the shot zooms in on Boots stomping hard in total desperation. Our main guy is seen huffing and puffing, sweating buckets, and looking like he is about to pass out on the spot. With exactly 3 seconds to spare, the camera zooms in on his shoulder, all torn up and leaking bad. The clock hits 2 seconds, and his eye becomes a pure reflection of desperation and adrenaline. When it hits 1, the voice announces that playtime is officially over. The drone declares that, according to some article of the law, they are now trespassers and the company is going to open fire with zero mercy. The second it finishes speaking, the drone's eye glows that nasty red color that means bad news. Our boy grits his teeth, his face a mix of pure anger and the absolute will to survive. He lets out a scream and starts unloading his ammo into the swarm of drones flying their way. In his head, he starts panicking, trying to figure out how to escape an army of robots and wondering if his journey ends in this dump. One of the drones locks its aim, and its energy cannon lights up, ready to punch our hero's ticket. On Tapai's visor, the message is crystal clear. The chance of making it out alive is absolute zero. But then a shadow pops out of nowhere, and our battered MC looks back, with a face like he just saw a ghost. The mysterious figure reveals himself as none other than Jack, who points his gun at the drone swarm and yells that he is actually loaded with cash. Striking a super stylish pose, the trio groups up with the word wings written beneath them, looking straight out of a movie. Jack hits them with a little smirk and announces he will hold down the fort for a bit, grumbling that heroes only show up at the very last second. He just taps his credit card against one of the drones. The thing makes a beep like a paid bill, and the transaction goes through successfully. The drone changes its tune right away, treating them both like VIP clients and politely asking them to move along, while Jack hypes it up, saying the card only bought them 3 little minutes of peace. Our main guy goes into shock, barely believing that the solution to all of life's problems was just swiping a debit card and calling it a day. He looks at the bodies of the gang laid out on the ground and asks, with total innocence, why those folks did not just pay the toll too. Jack gives it to him straight. It is because they were completely broke, and tells the kid to pick up the pace because the clock stops for no one. Staring at one of the fallen guys, the MC gets furious and asks if now anyone without a single dime in their pocket deserves to just bite the dust for free. With the foot resting on a stiff, a voice answers ice cold, "If you do not have money, my friend, the gutter is exactly where you belong." The kid clenches his fist hard, spitting out a curse word in pure hatred against this absolute dog-eat-dog logic. That is when a giant piece of junk crashes down from the sky, kicking up a massive cloud of iron and concrete right in their path. From a safe distance where no one can bother them, the trio stops to look at the city, and Jack points out that, for better or worse, the important thing is they made it out of that nightmare alive. Jack immediately fires up his live stream again, telling the chat that things got crazy, telling his followers to look at the company's shady moves, and already dropping his wallet link for anyone who wants to toss him some spare change. The main guy, not getting the hustle at all, asks why he did not call for rescue earlier when the fight was going down, leaving Jack looking completely clueless. Jack explains that medical centers only care about profit. They are not some charity willing to take a loss in a war zone, all while a rescue ship is already flashing its lights on approach. The medical team steps out fully bundled up in hazmat suits, and the crew boss announces right away that the area is clear and the operation is a go. The system gives the green light, confirming the user is a paying customer and is secure. Booking up the wires to his vitals and projecting the guy's whole life status onto a screen. Laying on the stretcher, our boy gets pampered by a robot while a voice warns him it is about to pump him full of stims and some chemical cocktails to fix him right up. He wakes up with a jump, totally mind-blown at how fast the holes in his body patched up, thinking that the technology of this era is straight out of a sci-fi movie. Sitting in the exam chair, he sees Jack strolling acting all high and mighty, wanting to know if that service was not absolutely top tier. With a vape in his mouth, the merc brags that he hooked them up with the premium package, getting them all the bells and whistles. Once inside the ship, our main boy peeks out the window at the endless landscape outside and asks where they are heading next. Jack takes a drag and answers like it is the most obvious thing in the world. Their destination is the metropolis. Right after he hits a glowing blue button on the wall that seems to fire up something massive. The MC can only let out a what, his jaw dropping at the conversation coming his way. A voice questions Jack's sanity, wanting to know if he seriously has the guts to fly straight through a radiation zone just to get to Gamora. Jack stares the kid down closely, figures out they are not from around there, and straight up asks what rock they crawled out from under. Looking out at the futuristic city skyline, the merc says that does not even matter because they saved his bacon, and in his world, loyalty is worth more than gold. While the ship cuts through the sky toward the capital, Jack promises them a red carpet welcome when they arrive. Out of nowhere, an ad pops up for a cheap, high-powered toy gun, swearing up and down that it is completely non-toxic for kids. Right after comes another crazy commercial offering an iron stomach implant that lets a guy eat straight-up nuclear waste without getting a tummy ache. The MC is more lost than a tourist without a map, grumbling that this place makes absolutely zero sense, and calls out for Tapai to see if he can explain the madness. He tells his robot buddy to search up what the heck this metropolis is all about, and if it is actually safe for two nobodies like them to stroll in. Tapai reports that the city is a giant anthill with 30 million souls, mind-bending traffic, and all sorts of crazy people, so the chances of anyone noticing them are practically zero. The little robot adds that the tracks from their crash landing got wiped out by rival companies, so there is no reason to be sweating bullets over it. The ship finally touches down in the middle of the city under the pouring rain, and a voice orders everyone to freeze right where they are. A boot steps down hard into a puddle, marking their territory right upon arrival. With arms wide open, Jack formally welcomes them to the metropolis, while the MC and Tapai just stand there, looking completely dumbfounded. Club lights and music blasting at max volume take over the scene, totally giving away that they ended up straight in a high-end nightclub. Just to make an entrance, the door to the joint gets kicked down with a single blow. Already kicked back on the couch, Jack yells for the best girls to come out, telling them to treat his brother like a king, because money is absolutely no object tonight. That is when a cat girl pops right out of a giant glass calling him honey with a super sweet voice. She introduces herself feeling totally playful, saying his fun for the night has officially arrived. The lady gets close and promises that the MC is going to leave completely satisfied, leaving the poor guy so embarrassed he does not know where to hide. His eyes practically bug out of his head in pure panic and total mental overload. She touches his face super gently and asks what has got him so tense. Seeing the kid completely frozen, she wants to know if he does not like what he sees or if he has some sort of problem with her. The main guy starts stuttering, mumbling something about the lights, totally overwhelmed by the whole situation. The girl does not get it and says that if he is into something different, she can change into whatever he wants on the spot. He stammers even more, begging her to hold her horses, and goes into full panic mode when he realizes that even a lady's chest glows in the dark. Jack throws his arm around him like a true buddy, rocking a massive grin, and gives him an official welcome to the City of Freedom. Someone points at the stage and lets him know that if that model was not his style, he can just pick the next one in line. On the stage, silhouettes keep moving under the disco ball, while the bass from the music hits hard enough to rattle your ribs. Suddenly, Rice stays lost in agitation, let's say. 4 totally buff dudes hyping up a special show that would make even the toughest guy sweat. The whole scene is pure comedy. Jack flashes a huge grin like he is in absolute paradise, while the MC just stands there looking completely terrified right next to the cat girl, with his eyes almost popping out and reflecting all those neon signs. Our boy starts screaming, complaining that his eyes are burning from way too much light. He lets out a groan of pure disgust when a neon sign reading 69 shines brighter than the midday sun right in his face. Now standing outside, he leans against a pole, feeling like he is about to toss his cookies, while a hotel neon sign blinks down at the bottom of the hill. Jack walks up, completely roasting him, calling the MC a lightweight for finishing way too fast and leaving the girl hanging, shaking his head that a kid his age is already running on empty. Still feeling dizzy, the main guy complains that the merc's very first move was dragging him into that sketchy joint, but Jack defends himself, saying that show cost a fortune and was worth every single penny. Out of nowhere, Jack glues his eyes to his phone and starts screaming with crazy excitement, begging the guy on the screen to do a backflip. With that, Jack literally flies by upside down from all the hype, and the MC, dizzy as can be, tells the merc he owes him some serious compensation for emotional damage. He decides to just bail out of there, walking all alone in the rain and stepping around a bloodstain decorating the pavement. Totally grossed out and breaking into a cold sweat, he asks himself what kind of messed up city is this where everyone is completely out of their minds. Exhausted from all this nonsense, the MC turns to Jack, drops the small talk, holds out his hand, and demands those 30 ad coins for saving his hide. But Jack totally dodges the question, says he is dead broke, that you could shake him upside down and not a single dime would fall out, and even tries pulling a fast one by claiming the gold arm already settles the debt. The kid shuts that down instantly, and Top Eye steps into the argument to clarify that the rescue contract was signed before the arm was found, so one does not cancel out the other. Jack starts sounding like a late-night bar philosopher, claiming that money is made to be spent and dying with cash in the bank is a straight-up sin, wrapping up by saying that thanks to this deep wisdom, he is currently totally broke. Seeing that cold hard cash is off the table, the MC switches up his game plan, forgets about the money, but demands to crash at Jack's place for a few days and wants his help to score a top-tier neural system, promising to pay him back later. The merc agrees on the spot, only asking them not to bring the cops knocking on his door, and warns that this is his absolute last favor, telling the kid to stop trying to piggyback off him. Our boy fires back, saying that is just pure partnership, and while Top Eye thinks to himself how fast the MC is picking up these street smarts, Jack just lets out a heavy sigh of defeat. They finally arrive in the Queens district, a soaking wet street completely decked out in neon lights that will not let anyone get a wink of sleep. Looking at the crowd with a healthy dose of suspicion, our main boy mutters something under his breath about the sketchy vibe of the place. The alleys are packed with bizarre and totally deformed characters, and he immediately points out that the neighborhood does not exactly look like a church choir. Jack calms the kid down, saying it is just a bunch of junkies who deep-fried their brains with cheap implants. Sure, they are ugly, but one good shot takes care of any wise guy. With a little smirk, Jack adds that the stairs have a lock, making sure the riffraff down below cannot come up to bother the folks living upstairs. A security camera with a glowing red eye locks onto them and gives the green light to open the gate. The metal door slides open, and Jack announces that this is where the VIP section begins, telling the MC to just chill out. Once inside the building, the trio waits for the elevator while Jack hits the button as cool as a cucumber. Grinning from ear to ear, Jack asks what they think of his palace, wondering if it is not way nicer than it looks from the outside. Then he drops the truth bomb. The apartment actually belongs to a buddy of his. A door slides open, revealing exactly what is waiting inside. Standing in front of a giant window with a sick city view, Jack explains that the owner actually bit the dust. But since he had the passcode, he just decided to move in. He tells them to kick back and only start worrying if the real owner comes back from the dead to kick them out. Jack says his goodbyes, claiming he is going to get some rest, promises they will sort out that neural system tomorrow, and then mentions he is heading right back to the club, because his mom raised him to be thrifty and he is definitely not wasting a ticket he already paid for. He throws them a "see ya tomorrow" and the door slams shut, leaving the two of them behind. Tapai asks the MC if he wants him to tail Jack, just to make sure the guy does not pull a vanishing act. But the kid just stands there, deep in thought. He says not to bother, since a streamer is not going to just disappear easily, but asks the robot to stand guard all night so nobody breaks in and robs them blind. He finally crashes on the couch, thinking that for today at least, the nightmare is over. He reflects that if it was not for Tapai, he would be pushing up daisies by now. But things are still looking pretty grim. The city is basically an open-air asylum, and he is now a handicap rocking an iron arm. Staring out at the view, he lets out a deep sigh, crossing his fingers that this is all just a really bad dream. But he quickly shakes it off and decides he needs to adapt to this absolute madness right now, or next time he will not make it out alive. He calls out for Tapai, who answers in a split second. The kid tells the robot to pull up the city's whole rap sheet, who is the boss, who takes orders, and what is the deal with the gangs and the security forces. The robot says he is already on it, and the visor flashes "Raid," with a little Pac-Man gobbling up the data. Right after that, he projects a hologram giving the quick rundown of the whole situation. The screen explains that the mega corporations run the whole show, since the government is basically a myth now. The city council calls the shots, and the BCPD is the private police force that keeps everyone in line. Then some gossip pops up. An ad saying that being an archaeologist is a one-way ticket to starving, and another ad about that famous neural system. The MC just thinks to himself that these commercials absolutely never stop. The ad claims the neural system connects everything together, tracks your ammo on a heads-up display, gives you hacker protection, and even lets you install a chip so you do not feel pain or can totally change the way your food tastes. Our main boy figures out the thing is basically a smartphone stuffed right into your brain. The more powerful it is, the more control you have over your body, but he already suspects the ad is totally overselling it. Just like a classic used car salesman, Tapai drops a warning. If it is a system, it can catch a virus or get hacked. The robot brags that he is totally safe since his code is ancient and nobody understands it anymore, but warns the MC that it is super dangerous because some hacker could easily turn him into a mindless zombie. The kid finds himself totally stuck between a rock and a hard place. He knows jamming a chip into his brain is a huge risk, but living without one in this city is like trying to use dial-up internet in the 5G era. You are not going anywhere. With that dilemma hammering in his head, he asks himself if he should actually jump on this crazy bandwagon or not. He just lays there, totally trapped in this mental debate, repeating the exact same question while his sleep completely ducks him. The doubt just eats away at his brain, leaving him completely frozen, weighing if it is actually worth handing his brain over to a microchip or just staying unplugged. Out of absolutely nowhere, Jack kicks the door open with an obnoxiously loud "good morning," screaming that duty calls. While our boy, still totally wrecked on the couch, wonders if this maniac runs on batteries or if he just physically does not sleep. The merc walks in already cracking jokes, calling him a dinosaur for still needing sleep, and super casually suggests he get a surgery to completely rip that biological need right out of his system. The kid can only let out an amazing, dripping with heavy sarcasm. In the elevator, the MC sighs, thinking how in this crazy future even sleep got cancelled by technological upgrades. He stands there wondering if there's not some kind of middle ground, like a neural system that does not require drilling a hole straight into his skull. When the doors open, they bump right into a long-legged figure rocking an all-pink outfit. It is the cat girl from the club. But this time, she has a look on her face like life is just one massive bore. Tapai immediately drops a gem, "Look Jack, a little floozy," and our boy almost has a stroke from the anger, totally scolding the robot, asking if it has absolutely zero manners and telling it to stop giving people these wild nicknames. But Jack, never missing a chance, recognizes the lady and walks up flashing all his teeth, calling her gorgeous, and asking if she actually lives there or if destiny is just trying to set them up. Watching this awkward scene play out, the MC actually starts feeling a pang of pity for the girl, thinking it must be a completely miserable life being so young and having to put up with that kind of stuff. He just stands there wondering what is going through her head right now. She does not even give him the time of day, just turns her back and keeps walking straight to her apartment. But as she walks away, she mutters with all the hatred in the world, complaining that her luck is so completely garbage that she barely clocked out of work and already bumped into 3 total morons to ruin the rest of her day. Outside, the city is still drowning under that absolutely endless downpour. Right then, a sports car tears down the street at top speed, with the bass blasting so loud it makes everything shake. It is Jack behind the wheel screaming rock and roll like an absolute madman. He is hyped up enough to make anyone jealous, hanging his head out the window with a grin that barely fits on his face. In the backseat, it is a total night and day difference. The reflection shows the MC and Tapai looking like they are heading straight to the slaughterhouse from pure boredom. Staring out the window, the kid complains that they've been driving around the outskirts of the metropolis for 2 solid hours and finally asks where on earth they ended up. Jack turns around with that totally crazy look in his eye and asks what the problem is this time. The Mark totally roasts him, claiming the MC got super impatient to go back home the second he found out their little neighbor lived next door. But the kid shuts that joke down fast, telling him to drop the goofy nicknames. He even adds to it, grumbling that he is absolutely positive the girl does not want to see their faces, not even painted in solid gold, the minute her shift is over. Jack completely ignores him and loudly announces, acting all fancy, that they have officially arrived at the famous Statue Street. The main guy looks outside and his jaw drops to the floor. He can only let out an "oh my gosh" at the sight in front of him. A massive Buddha statue, completely wrecked and falling to pieces, towers right over the buildings with its entire iron skeleton showing. He points out that the thing is so trashed with its metal guts completely exposed that it is an absolute miracle it has not collapsed right on top of somebody yet. Out of nowhere, the car pulls a totally wild turn, burning rubber and screeching so hard it makes your stomach drop. The kid gets thrown right against the door from the crazy maneuver and lets out a solid crap. Jack slams the brakes right in front of a laundromat and announces they have arrived, telling the kid to hurry up and get out of the car. They stop in front of this totally bizarre shop, decked out in neon with 2 funeral wreaths right at the door. The MC sarcastically comments on how advanced the technology must be in this dump. Sweating bullets, he stares at those flower wreaths and wonders if the folks in this crazy future still keep up with old-school funeral traditions. Inside the store, the vibe is straight off another planet, shelves packed with pixelated creepy items that would easily give you nightmares. Our boy's eyes widen in absolute shock. He has never seen so much weirdness packed into 1 square foot. He thinks to himself that today was definitely the official eye-opening day for all the absolute freaky stuff this new world has to offer. He starts making a mental list of the absolute absurdity. They have everything from sexy burial shrouds to papier-mâché vibrating eggs. And the list just keeps going, throwing in some cybernetic idols that he does not even have a clue what they are used for. Finally, he comes face to face with a robot monk and asks himself, letting out a super nervous chuckle, if that is actually a walking tin can Japanese monk. Someone touches the cybernetic monk, which looks like some kind of spiritual self-service kiosk. From behind the counter, a guy with metal claws pops up and greets Jack, saying it feels like forever since he last showed his face around here. Jack introduces a guy, a bald, super buff monk named King Kong, swearing up and down that the dude is an absolute master at body mods and has skills straight out of this world. The monk recognizes Jack as Benefactor GPUS, and jokes that he was honestly starting to think the merc had gone to meet Buddha a little early, wrapping it up with a quick religious blessing. But Jack, strictly under the radar, whispers to the MC that this guy is a massive scam artist, and that backup heart pump he bought from him almost got him killed because it ran out of juice. The kid is just totally stunned to hear about this next level swindling. Then Jack completely loses it. He charges at the monk, screaming his lungs out, complaining that he is sick of getting ripped off, and points a gun right at the bald guy's head, threatening to put a few extra holes in him. Absolutely terrified, Kong begs them to lower their weapons and just talk it out like civilized people. Jack jumps on the opening and lays down his terms. If they are going to talk, the monk has to hand over a neural system from the shop for his brother, totally free of charge. Kong agrees on the spot just to avoid catching a bullet, and tells them to follow him. The MC and Tapai just look at each other, totally unable to believe that Jack actually scored a free upgrade just by screaming his head off. Jack announces he's going to stay put and watch the storefront, totally mesmerized by a picture on the wall while the other two head inside. The shop bell rings and they step right into another room in the back. The monk pops up at the entrance of this dark, totally mysterious room. He gives them an official welcome and tells them to pick out whatever they want from that massive pile of junk. Our boy looks around, checking out the huge pile of spare parts and mechanical arms, and thinks to himself that, hey, at least down here things look way more professional than the total freak show upstairs. Kong walks up acting all tough, offering an odd 2016 Type 3. The thing translates every language, links to your guns to track your ammo, and even hacks the enemy so you can see if their clip is fully loaded. The monk is feeling super proud, swearing it is totally professional gear. But Jack was not born yesterday and shuts him down instantly, telling him to put that Jurassic junk away. He demands the absolute best, a level 4 surveillance jammer, pain editor, temporary ice and a dopamine cycler to keep him always feeling fresh. Kong complains that a setup like that costs an arm and a leg, but Jack just tells him to go get it and keep his mouth shut. Then our boy drops the million-dollar question. Is there any way to install this neural system without drilling a hole straight into his skull? Like some kind of external accessory? Jack and Kong look at each other, totally lost. The monk finds it super weird and asks if the chip the kid already has in his head just completely short-circuited. Our main boy, acting like the master of improv, makes up a lie that his chip fried on the inside and is now totally stuck. He even points at Tapai and spins a tall tale, claiming his robot buddy actually turned himself into a tin can just to avoid dealing with that exact problem. He argues that if even a heart can give out, a brain chip definitely can too. He says that if it is on the outside, he keeps total control. If things get ugly, he can just pull the plug and be done with it. Kong, with his red eye glowing in pure curiosity, reaches his hand right out to take a look at the kid's so-called damage. The MC almost jumps backward and cuts off the contact instantly. He quickly invents a story that it took a crazy amount of work to lock the device down, and it would be a complete disaster if the monk accidentally rebooted his system. Jack gets a little suspicious, pointing out that this story sounds pretty different from the one he heard yesterday. But the kid changes the subject faster than bad news spreads. Kong finally gives in and says he is going to dig up an external device he sold way back in the day. Our boy breathes a massive sigh of relief, thinking to himself that he was a hair away from exposing that he is just an analog guy in disguise. The monk comes back holding the piece. Found it. He explains that he already jammed the system chip inside and tells the kid to take it for a test drive. The MC puts the glasses on and instantly feels the impact. The lens projects everything in this massive wide-angle view, making his field of vision so huge it feels like he's got eyes in the back of his head. Jack, being naturally impatient as always, immediately wants to know how it feels and if the gadget is actually any good. Still a bit dizzy from all the information popping up on the screen, the kid asks how the heck he is supposed to actually pilot this contraption. Kong explains that the glasses scan his scalp using electrography, but he drops a warning. Since it sits on the outside of his head, he only gets to feel what is going on. He cannot actually control his body with it. A pain editor and dopamine are totally off the table, but the jammer and the ice feature are good to go. With a little mental focus, our boy closes the subtitles and makes the magic happen. Data starts popping up everywhere. An interface glows right in his vision, scanning Kong and Jack's data on the spot. The monk gives him one final warning. Take good care of that kid. If someone steals those glasses, they are stealing your entire life right along with it. The kid is just in awe, asking himself if this is the so-called evolution of the human body into the digital age. He throws out a little sarcastic jab. And if it was actually inside my brain, no one could steal it, huh? Jack cracks up laughing and says the kid is absolutely right. If it was not for the black market recycling other people's hardware, nobody around there would own a single thing. Kong tries playing the saint, claiming his business is completely legit, and that he only dodges taxes to help out his fellow man. The MC's face goes dark. He suddenly realizes that every single chip in there was ripped right out of someone's skull. He brushes it off, thinking to himself that in this messed up world the savagery just has no limits. Suddenly, a notification pops up right in his face. Would you like to add this user as a friend? Jack walks up acting super friendly, asking him to accept the request so they can have each other's backs on future missions. He hypes the kid up, saying that anyone who can take down Chloe is definitely no rookie. Our main boy accepts and says thanks, sealing the deal that they are now officially brothers in arms. The kid says his goodbyes, announcing he is heading out. He and Tapai leave the shop and hit the streets, but Tapai lets out a scream looking like he just saw a werewolf right on his visor. The robot gives our boy a good shake, asking why he is just zoning out right in the middle of such a sketchy neighborhood. The thing is, right in the kid's vision, another notification popped up. Would you like to add this user as a friend? He freezes cold. Besides Jack, who else could possibly know who he is and exactly where to find him? He starts getting super paranoid. Did somebody already figure out his secret? Meanwhile, the screen shows that they are actually being filmed from a distance. He gets a gut feeling that someone is lurking around, and sure enough, a mysterious figure is right on their tail, watching their every single move. Then the notification reveals the guy's username. Holy crap, this is such a drag. The MC is just completely confused by such a bizarre ID. He gets a massive jump scare and screams, challenging the sender to come out and fight, but Top Eye just mocks him, calling him a total chicken for getting spooked by a simple text message. The kid defends himself, saying he is just being careful, especially since the mess they caused the night before was definitely not a small one. He starts thinking they might have actually made the news, and a live news button pops right up on his interface. He clicks it all excited, but the screen flashes bright red. Insufficient funds. He absolutely cannot wrap his head around it. The shock hits him so hard he breaks into a cold sweat, standing completely frozen right in the middle of the sidewalk. Then he drops to his knees on the pavement, screaming in pure outrage. I cannot believe you actually have to pay just to read the news. Top Eye does not show an ounce of pity. Get used to it, boss. This is hardcore capitalism out here. If you do not have the cash, you do not even get to know what is going on. Our main boy asks if the robot cannot pull a little magic trick, hack a few accounts, and score them some spare change. But Top Eye warns him that his code is way too outdated to mess with these modern kids. The kid loses his patience and tells him to just learn how, but the robot fires back saying he has absolutely zero budget to upgrade his CPU. With no way out, the MC screams, "Then go get a job and earn us some money." He complains about his life, wondering out loud if he is going to have to turn into an absolute psycho just like Jack so he does not starve to death. Top Eye just agrees. "You are the boss. Whatever you order, I will do." They arrive at a dark staircase, and the robot announces that this is their stop. Right in the kid's vision, a job listing pops up. 56 hours a week just to earn a measly 0.15 at coins. Our boy gets all hyped up, thinking this is his big break to finally eat a decent meal. But Top Eye tells him he will be eating air for now, and says he is just gonna wait outside. The kid steps into the HR office, a super neat space packed with totally bored-looking people just waiting for their turn. Sitting there, he thinks to himself that at the end of the day, the city actually has folks who look pretty normal and not just straight-up street psychos. Suddenly, the sharp click-clack of high heels echoes across the floor, grabbing everyone's attention. A woman in a sharp suit rocking a high-tech visor pops out at the door and yells, "Who is next? Who is AA?" A girl with short hair, who was sitting right next to him, raises her hand super shyly and confirms that is her. The recruiter does not even bother with a good morning and goes straight for the throat. "Are you willing to have your uterus completely removed to work with us?" AA does not even blink and replies with absolute confidence, "For sure. And you can rest easy, because I had mine ripped right out the second I turned 18. There is absolutely zero risk of having those days mess up the company's productivity." Our boy, who was just quietly eavesdropping on the conversation, lets his jaw hit the floor and completely spits out his drink, choking in pure shock. The recruiter breaks into a super satisfied smile, praises the girl's attitude, and moves right along with the interview. "Perfect. Our shifts here are only 8 hours long, which is half of what other companies demand. But because of that perk," she continues cold as ice, "I need to know if you are okay with staying in a level 6 state of neural overdrive for your entire shift with 0 breaks." The applicant hesitates a bit. The nerves kick in, and she asks with a slightly shaky voice, "But does that mean I am going to have to pump myself full of drugs?" The woman snaps instantly and hits her with a harsh correction. "Not drugs. The correct term is work supplements, and they are absolutely not addictive." She wraps it up with that classic HR pressure tactic. "If you do not want the package, you can just leave, because the line outside is literally wrapping around the block."